Welcome. This is John. We're going to be putting together a two-tooth Model A steering sector. We're out at the shop for Mike Long and Lincoln Products Model A restoration. Mike's going to guide us through this. We'll give you an update once we get it in the car, but right now let's see about putting it together. Go ahead and say hello, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Long. Mike Long's my name. Today we're going to do a demo on how to put together a two-tooth steering to restore your original. First we're going to start off with the bearings. We're going to put the bearings back onto the shaft of the steering, taking the header bearing, the header adjustable cap, putting it on to the shaft. We're going to take the housing and put the header bearing, which fits inside the housing, into it's in here. Just like that. Stick your finger and put it in there and hold it. We're going to take now the shaft and put it in. We're going to turn this to where the adjustment nut lines up with that, and hopefully get this to go down. If not, we're going to have to tap it down a little bit. Almost. Getting there. Still almost. And that looks like it. As you can see, it turns really easy. We do have a little bit of play in it, but that's no biggie because we will be taking the play out when we adjust out the steering. The next thing to put in, which would be the upper thrust nut, which is this one, which goes down here, which makes the collar go in or out depending upon what we want to adjust it. We're just going to put this stuff in for right now, loosely. We will take, this is the back thrust nut, which adjusts at this point right here. This little needle right here will hit right there, and when you screw it in or out, it does the adjustment back and forth. And what that usually does, it takes up the plate to where you've ever grabbed the bottom of it here and it goes like this and it makes a clunk, 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 clunk. You adjust that and it pulls it out and it makes the teeth on the white in here, see how they're a little bit wider? Grip, well, the inner worm in here a little bit wider. So we'll take that and just put it into here for right now. Just screw it in. We don't have to really do any heavy adjustment. We can take the grease fitting and put it in here. This is an earlier grease fitting, which Ford would have taken the oil and squirted in it versus unscrewing it and putting it in the other way. Just an earlier grease fitting. We will take the sector housing, take the worm, we put the worm in. Don't forget your little favorite doodad, which is the spacer right here. Just put it over the shaft and let it drop. Put that on, align it to the bottom. Now we have two different styles here. We're going to be using this one right here. This is the seal that goes on this way and it seals it in so oil comes out. This is the Etta version, which this would go over this here. This would go against the side of your car and seal it, and then the O-ring does basically the same thing as this. This is a little bit better of a design because this is like an internal seal like in your engine to where it seals it off completely. This is the cheaper version of it. Nothing wrong with it. Saves you a couple extra bucks on machining other than using that. And then you put this on, get it over, and just lightly tap it into place, perfectly flush all the way around. So this is the adjustment wedge. This is the one that can take the arm here, and it can literally takes the arm and can cock it as you're adjusting to make it so when you have your two-tooth and you have your sector coming in, you want them to be perfectly aligned like this, but as tight as you can get them on the inside without binding. And the only way to do that sometimes is by turning this part of the steering box. You can't do that with a 28, 29 steer box with the 7-tooth. It won't allow you to do that. And one of the reasons why Ford went to this was not the best steering box. It was his way of trying to get out of paying royalties to Gimmer. And then you want to put in the cone. Make sure you have that cone in there nice. All the way down, and you take the other part of the cone, you put it on, take the big washer and then the nut, and you put it on. You can slightly tighten them up. This can all be adjusted by turning this big nut. Just by turning it, rotates it at different angles. And there we go. Take this one, put it over here. This one right here, and this one down here. All of these have to be adjusted or taken to be loose to adjust the steering properly. It's kind of hard if you're still running engine pans in your car to do it because you can't get the wrenches down here as easy. So on those cars, I always recommend adjusting them out of the car. But you can't get the car to adjust as good as if it was in the car. Okay. It's not tight, but we're not going for that right now. Okay, now that we have it all back together, everything now, after the camera was off, I tightened things up. All these nuts and bolts are tight. The one in the back here is tight, but it's so I can still adjust it with the screwdriver later on. What we're gonna do now is the inner one in here. We're gonna take, now, because we are using this tube, this originally had a gasket. It would have gone in here like this. With this, it would have gone around it, okay? Now there's two ways you can do this, and I do recommend at least putting this back in there. Taking this, you can either fit it hard all the way around it, okay? And then putting it in here like this, like that. And all that does is just gives you a better seal.